Good afternoon. Welcome to our July SugarCRM user group. My name is Deneen, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Technology Advisors. With me today are our resident SugarCRM experts, Megan and Justin. Justin just tried for an air high five, and it did not go well. Today we're going to be talking about doing sales quotes in SugarCRM and giving you tips for ways to improve that. Before we get started, I just would like to go over a few quick things. You may notice that there are some differences in the way this console looks. This is a new webinar platform we're using called On24, and you will have to be using your computer audio. If you see the media player within that console, that can help you adjust the volume of what you're listening to. And if you look on the bottom of that window, you'll see what are called widgets, and those have different resources for you. There's the PDF to troubleshooting if you do experience any technical difficulties. There's a link to registration for our next user group, and there's also some bio information about Megan and Justin as well that you can check out. So feel free to play around with your console, make your screens bigger, smaller, and do whatever you like. So again, user group hosts are Megan and Justin, and I'm going to quickly run over the agenda with you before I turn the floor over to them. So first thing we're going to address, why even quote from your CRM? What is quoting in Sugar all about? How can you use product catalog, quotes modules, PDF manager? What kind of add-on products can enhance your quoting abilities, and that's where we're going to dive into XperiDo and how that looks within Sugar and how it functions. And then we're going to take some time to go over Sugar's new releases and expected releases. If you have any questions throughout, one of the widgets you'll also see on the bottom of your screen is for Q&A. Simply enter your question in there and we will address it. So with that, I'd like to give the floor over to Justin and Megan.
Thank you, Deneen. First slide is, why would someone want to quote out of Sugar? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of the primary ones are we find a lot of our customers or prospects are quoting by manually creating quotes in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, and that can lead to a lot of errors. Using a CRM system with a document generation tool for quoting can lead to more accurate quotes. It can lead to more accurate quotes more quickly. Your users aren't having to look up in an ERP or accounting system the price of different products, the name of different products, the SKU, or the quantity that's available. So quickly generating accurate quotes can be incredibly important, especially because if you send out an inaccurate quote with an accidental half-price discount, you may have to honor that with your customers. Additionally, if your users are able to leverage the SugarCRM to generate their quotes, they're going to be more likely to use the system so that they can generate their quotes and make their sales and get their quotas. So they're going to be putting in all of the account, contact, opportunity, and quote information so that these quotes can be generated, and then they're accurate. And also, we've even seen this internally, it's a lot easier to get a signature if you're using e-signature. And whether you're using Sugar out of the box to generate a quote PDF and uploading that to DocuSign, or if you're using one of the add-on products that can automatically integrate with DocuSign or their own e-signature tool, it can lead to a lot faster close time on sales.
One last thing I would add in this area is you can eliminate some double data entry when you're quoting out of your CRM system. Things like addresses and account names, account manager, that's all going to be in your CRM system. So rather than having to retype that into a Word document or an Excel file, you already have that data in your system. You can just pull it directly into your quote. So Sugar does have a quoting tool built into it, the quotes module inside of Sugar. Before we show you what the quotes module looks like, we thought we better talk a little bit about the administrator tools that feed into the quoting tool. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to manage your product catalog, which is an administrator function inside of Sugar. Let me see if I can figure out how to do the screen share here. Good.
Buffering.
Okay.
I see it.
Great. All right. So looking at the administrator page in Sugar, if you've ever scrolled down far enough below the Studio and other developer tools section, you might have noticed there's a section called Products and Quotes. This is where all of the administrator tools, I shouldn't quite say that exactly, but the administrator tools around the product catalog specifically are listed in this section of the administrator page. So within this section, you can do things like set up tax rates to calculate taxes on your Sugar quotes, set up a list of shipping providers that are going to be available to list on your quote, set up a list of manufacturers, as well as different categories, and product types that you're going to be able to use when you build your product catalog. Within the product catalog itself, this is where you would add all of your various products to Sugar so that they can be added to quotes. And if I just go ahead and click on one of these, there's a lot of stock fields available off the shelf, things like product availability, quantity in stock, the categories, manufacturer, part number, weight, cost and price information. This is also a module that you can access inside of Studio. So if there are other fields that you would like to track in your product catalog, you can add them to the product catalog the same way you'd add them to any other module inside of Sugar. And this is a module that we see often integrated with an ERP system if you're going to be doing quoting out of Sugar, so that as your products change, that information automatically feeds into Sugar to your product catalog. If prices change, if you add new products, as well as that availability that Justin mentioned before, if you are feeding in directly from your ERP system how many of any particular product are in stock, your team can use that and view that information while they're quoting and use that to create better quotes.
Another administrative tool for managing quotes is found in the administration section, and that's what's called the PDF Manager. This is how Sugar out of the box creates quotes. If I click on PDF Manager there, I can then open up my quote and click the Edit button, which takes me to a WYSIWYG editor, or what you see is what you get. It's a little bit like a very simplified Word embedded within your web browser. I can have an image here that's embedded with the image button. I can create tables that allow me to structure what this looks like, adding fields, quote number. I also have this drop down up here that lets me include fields from my quoting module. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can even see I'm getting into the billing contact name, the billing address, shipping contact, shipping address, all the way down to related products. So it's using this for each section to loop over the products on my quote. And this can be a little complicated. Usually we help our customers set this type of thing up, but you can get to anything that's linked to the quote in here. For example, the bill to account, the bill to contact, ship to information, product information, and even on up to the related opportunity. So you can get a lot of good data inserted in here, loop through your products, and get your subtotals out, find your grand totals, and really generate a nice PDF, which we'll see in just a minute.
One tip I often share when I'm doing administrator training on PDF Manager, especially if you are new to the tool, is to create a copy of the existing quote and start from that. That way if you accidentally mess something up and your quote template stops working the way you want it to, you can always go back to square one and start over with customizing it all over again. Looks like we're still buffering. Oh, clicking to help that. Okay. Now that we've seen the administrator side of things, the next thing we're going to take a look at is how do we actually create quotes in Sugar. And as I'm bringing this up, I do want to point out that Sugar updated the quotes interface in version 7.9, the latest major release from Sugar. The quotes module moved out of backwards compatibility mode. We've talked about that in a few of our previous user groups, how some of the Sugar modules were still using the old Sugar 6 interface. And so quotes has now moved into the new sidecar interface. Not only does that give you a better user experience, It also means that Quotes is now supported for mobile. You can access Quotes on your mobile app. It also means it's going to be easier for developers to customize Quotes module. And Sugar has long-term plans to make Quotes more configurable through Studio or other administrator tools as well. So the configurability, I'll point out what you can and can't configure today, but that is something that is on their Quotes roadmap to add additional configurability now that it's inside cover. All right, give me a second to switch back to Sugar here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up an opportunity record. Just pick one at random here. And most of the time within the Sugar world, you probably are working on an opportunity before you are ready to quote something. You probably are calling on somebody and qualifying that opportunity, finding out exactly what it is that they want and need. And so most of the time, you're probably going to create a quote from an opportunity. You can do the opposite. If you come across a situation where someone calls you up out of the blue and needs a quote for something and it's not logged as an opportunity yet in Sugar, you can create the quote first and then convert it to an opportunity. But I'm going to do the more common approach here, which is having the opportunity already logged in the system. So what I would do in that situation is I would open up my opportunity inside of Sugar and go down to the quotes section and use my plus button to bring up the quote create form. So the quote create form almost looks like a standard Sugar create form. I would say above the plus button bottom part of the screen here, this is a pretty standard Sugar screen. And this top part of the screen is configurable in Studio. So the top part of the screen, you can add your own custom fields. You can remove fields that are there by default. You can change what's required or not required, options on drop-down list, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in my required field here, quote subject, my valid until date. And you can have different stages for your quotes if that's useful to you. You can track things like PO number, payment terms. Because I created this from an opportunity, it's going to automatically pull in the account from that opportunity as the billing and shipping account. I could change if it's going to be billed to somebody different, modifiable. It's going to pull the address off of those account records for me automatically. If I want to tie this to a contact name, I could go ahead and do a search here and have a specific contact name appear on my quote document as well. And I can do other quote settings. We talked briefly about tax rates before. I could grab a tax rate and apply that to this quote. I could track who the shipping provider is going to be. And again, this part of the screen, this top section, is a standard Sugar screen, completely configurable in Studio to add your own custom fields and change things around and any of that fun stuff. What Sugar had to put a lot of time and thought into building is the bottom part of the screen, which is where I actually put items into my quote. So if you've ever used Sugar quotes before in backwards compatible mode, the general functionality hasn't changed. You have essentially the same options available. It just looks a lot nicer and it's a lot easier to use. If I want to add something to my quote, I'm going to click this plus button, and I can add either an item, a comment, or a group. We're going to start by just adding an item here. I'm going to add a line to my quote. I'm going to have a search box where I can search for an item from my catalog, and I can just pick one of my matching items, and it's going to pull in some basic information about that product for me. What's the part number? What's the unit price? I can apply a discount to that price. This is something that is a really common place to apply workflows around discount percentages, what percentage is allowed. If it's higher than a certain amount, maybe it has to go somewhere for approval or something like that. Again, one of the benefits of quoting inside your CRM system is you have that capability built into the system. So I could say there's a 5% discount. If I want to do just a straight dollar discount, I have that option as well to switch to a dollar discount. Oh, and I must point it out at the beginning of the line here, but you can also change the quantity, of course. If they want 10 of these stuffing gadgets, I can update that quantity. And just repeat this as needed to add all of the items to my quote. Now, in some businesses, all of my quotes are going to come out of my catalog. But other times, there might be a capability to do one-off products. And so sometimes I might need to quote something that's not in my catalog. I can do that as well if I'm typing here. I want to sell someone my custom-made Megan gadget. There's no Megan gadget in my catalog, but I have the option to add it as a new quoted line item. That's not going to add it to my catalog. If I want to sell someone else the Megan gadget, it's going to be a brand new item for that quote again. It's simply giving me the option to quote things that don't have to be in my catalog when I need to do so. Obviously, in this situation, there's no information for it to pull in. So part number, unit price, discount, I'll have to fill all that information out. Sugar has always had a grouping function available for quotes. If you want to have different sections of your quote with subcategories, with subtotals to each section, you still have the option to do that. It's just not required anymore. It used to be you had to put a group in whether you wanted one or not. Now I have the option to just directly add items to my quote, or if I want a group, I can create a group, give that group a name, and then add things within that group. You might also notice that as I'm adding things to my quote, there's a lot of calculated fields that are automatically updating along the way. So at the bottom of my quote, I have what the customer is probably going to see depending on how I have that PDF template set up. Things like the totals, the subtotals, taxes, shipping. I can enter a shipping cost here as needed. And it also is going to give me a quick overview here at the top for me inside of Sugar as the Sugar user, making that easy for me to keep an eye on, especially as maybe I keep adding things and this goes down a little bit off my screen. I can see total discount, overall discount percentage, how much is that discount in dollars, or I'm sorry, what's the subtotal in dollars, tax, shipping, and my grand total. I'm going to go ahead and save this. When I do that, unlike most of the other things inside of Sugar, it's going to not direct me back to where I was. It's going to send me to that quote because most often, after I create a quote, I want to send it to somebody. And so they're going to save me from having to do that click by sending me directly to that quote screen inside of the system. Now, I can still update my quote from here. If I want to move something from one group to another, I can drag and drop it down here at the bottom into a different order or in and out of groups. If I want to add something new to my quote, I still have my plus button here to do that. If I want to edit something on my quote, I have apparently forgotten how to do that, but I know there's a way to do it. There we go. Just clicked on the wrong spot. That's where I thought it was. I can edit any of these details here as well, and then save that back to the quote. When I'm done making any other updates, adding any other items, of course I want to generate that actual quote document using that PDF manager that Justin showed me. So up here in my drop-down menu, I have the option to download various PDFs. Any PDF templates that have been published are going to be available here, and I can select the PDF that I want. I'm going to go ahead and download that, open it for me, and I can preview this, save it locally, attach it to an email, whatever I want to do at this point. If I had multiple quote templates to choose from, all of those quote templates would be listed here. Now, that's the way most people use opportunities and quotes inside of Sugar, but Sugar does also have a function called revenue line items available in the Enterprise and Higher editions, which actually works really nicely with quotes. So I want to just really quickly jump to a different Sugar where I have that feature turned on. I'm going to create a new opportunity here in this side of things. When I have revenue line items turned on, a lot of the details that I would normally track inside of an opportunity, like a price, an expected close date, a probability, a sales stage, I actually have the ability to track those details on an item-by-item basis. So rather than having one sales stage and one close date for my entire opportunity, I can actually have various items that are going to close in a specific order, maybe not all at once, and I can track each of those and forecast on each of those individually. This is really nice when you have orders spread out over time or a phased project. Things are going to, here's phase 1 items, here's phase 2. We know it's probably going to happen, but it's not going to happen all at once. It's also really nice if you're quoting a bunch of products and some of them are pretty likely to become sales, but others are maybe a bit of a reach. They're an optional feature that most people don't opt for. You can actually have different probabilities for each of those so that you can have certain items at 90% likelihood to close and others at only 10%. So I would build this out basically the same way as building my quote. I would pick the item that I want to quote. I would add the quantity. I can add discounts same way. But I'm also going to have details like the expected close date, sales stage, categories, whether or not to forecast this, probability could be here, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a couple of things to my quote. And save this opportunity. I'll go ahead and pull up that opportunity now, and we'll see those revenue line items listed here. And the revenue line items subpanel is unique in that it has some checkboxes on it. So I can select one or all of the products that I've put as revenue line items, and I can take those and turn them into a quote. Instead of having to add them to a quote separately all over again, it will just pull them directly into my quote screen. Now from here, of course, I can make additional changes. I could come back in and adjust the discounts and quantities. I can add more items. I could put a group in and put them into a group. Whatever I want to do from here, quote function is the same. It's just how do I get there is slightly different. And if you want that granularity around the various items that you're quoting, this is the best way to get that.
Another way to quote out of Sugar is to use an add-on, and one of the add-ons we work with is called XperiDo. That lets you generate complex documents and generate those documents in formats other than just PDF. We also have the functionality of emailing them directly out of the third-party tool and even sending them directly to e-signature. So let's take a look at that. Here I have a quote in another system, the enterprise quote with the 4 different products on it. If I go ahead and click the drop down here,
Sorry guys, you might not be able to see it yet, so just give us 1 second while it finishes buffering here. I know.
They stop it and start over, but that might just make things worse. I don't know.
How'd you get it to go so fast, Megan?
And magic.
I'm just not very good.
Yeah, I think I say stop it and start over, see if it helps.
All right, it is stopped, and now I will start it.
I'm looking, I'm on it. All right, I see it. You're good.
All right, so here now we are looking at a quote, the enterprise quote, with 4 different products on it. If I click the little blue drop down up here, I have some more options down here, specifically XperiDo Quote and XperiDo Quick Document. With XperiDo Quick Document, I can simply generate a document right here within Sugar. I'm going to go ahead and click on XperiDo Document to take us through the whole process to show all the functionality that XperiDo can give us. So now we're going out to the XperiDo servers where it's pulling in data from the CRM system and going to generate my document for me. I have to first select a template in my wizard here, and within XperiDo you can have any number of templates you want, and you can assign those templates to specific people. So if you have people on a specific team, maybe they have one quote, and then you have people on another team and they have a quote that looks completely different. And of course, you don't have to just do quotes. You can do this against any module. Maybe it's work logs against cases you want to print out to take with you to an on-site visit. So I'm going to go ahead and select my template here. I have a nice preview over here of what that might look like. I click Next Steps here, and I have different document properties. I can give it a document name. I could pull in fields from my quote or any related module. So I could have this say Enterprise Quote for Account Technology Advisors for Primary Contact Justin Kielthau if I wanted to, and have it automatically spell all that out. I can choose a Save As format, PDF, or document, and there's a whole lot of other formats as well, everything from HTML to XML. And it supports multiple languages if I want to. I'm going to go ahead and just click Next here to see some output parameters. Of course, I want to be able to download it once I'm done, but I can also have it automatically log that file, whether it's a PDF or a document, back to Sugar. I can give it a subject. Description, do I want to include that generated file against the quote we were just looking at? Do I want to send it to the printer? Do I want to automatically email it to somebody? So I could have it automatically pre-populated to send an email from my user account to the contact that was selected on that quote with a specific subject, with a specific message, and different actions, whether I want to save it as draft or ready to send. And of course, over here under Deliver, we can also add an e-signature to send it directly to DocuSign if you wanted to go that route. I'm going to go ahead and generate this document. And then again, it's pulling a lot of data out of Sugar to the XperiDo servers and generating that document. So it can take a little longer than just running it directly within Sugar, but I think the results are well worth it. So now it says my document has been generated, and I can go ahead and download it here. Open up that PDF. We have something that looks somewhat similar to the one that was generated out of Sugar that we saw previously. We have our quote information up here. It automatically pulled in who my salesperson is, the valid until date, purchase order number, payment terms, bill to, ship to, looped through those products to add them here, brought in all of these subtotals. But the power of XperiDo really comes in, the templates are built in Microsoft Word, which we'll see in a little minute. So you can add page breaks. I could have filtered these records to maybe I only want to include records where there's a part number. I could sort these records by any field in the system, whether it's how you have them sorted in Sugar, or maybe you want to sort them by quantity or price. And you can also have conditional text and values. So for example, if I include widget A as a product, I automatically want to append a page to the end of this quote with a picture of widget A. Or for example, maybe I want to have a page break here on my quote and include all of the contacts that might be related to this account. So I'm traveling from my quote up to the related billing account and then down to the related contacts, looping through those and including those here. So you can really traverse relationships and do a lot of cool things. Or one of our customers said every time a quote is generated, we want to append, I previously said, a picture of some of the products, or you can append a picture of the guy who generated it. So all of that conditional formatting is really cool. And let's just really quickly bring up Word so you can kind of see how that works. So we're looking at Word right now. Right, Denise?
Yes.
Awesome. We're looking at Word here. Over here in my right column, you can see I have an XperiDo window. I can see my entire data set, everything from my quote to the related accounts. I can even keep traversing down these relationships to open my account to get down to the contact that is related to that account. Over here I had that quantity table. I added a page break. If I were to come to my home here, you can see I have a nice page break here so I can make sure things are showing up in the right spot. I can have conditional headers and footers on here. And as you start getting into mapping, you can see here I can have conditions, looping, grouping records. If I were to come to my mapping page and let's just click on this guy, my XD requester, this is where you can have that formatting to say whether it's a picture or like I had converted this text to an image to include the picture of who the requester is. So lots of really cool things you can do in XperiDo.
Right back.
All right, a couple of the new releases. We actually just saw a demo of the quoting module in 7.9. This was released May 15th. I think we actually mentioned it in our last user group, but we wanted to mention it again. It's got a lot of great stuff in it, including the quotes module moved to sidecar, the reports module moved to sidecar, global search supporting more parameters, advanced workflow is always improving every version. There's some really cool things you can do with advanced workflow. I believe, Megan, you mentioned some advanced workflows with percents discounts.
I did.
And they're preparing for some pretty major back-end changes that'll be pretty exciting in the next version, 7.9.1, I believe, to support faster versions of PHP. So hopefully Sugar will be getting a lot faster.
Since our last user group, a lot of other releases have happened. So one that Sugar is really excited about, and you've probably gotten some marketing emails from Sugar about, is Hint. Hint version 1.0 was released, I guess I wouldn't put the date on here, but very recently, last month, early this month. And Hint is a relationship intelligence service. What that means is it's going to take the information you have in Sugar, namely someone's email address and name, and look in external systems, LinkedIn, other sources as well, and find information about them and feed that to you directly inside of Sugar. So inside of contacts and leads inside of Sugar, Hint changes what the preview button does, and instead of giving you a preview of the record, it actually gives you the information from Hint, from this intelligence service, so that you can see more about your lead. This way, if all you have is someone's name and email address, you can get a lot of additional information about them. You can import that data directly into Sugar just by clicking a button. And it's really fast, really simple, really easy to use. Hint is an add-on product to Sugar. It's produced and created by Sugar, but it is not included in any of the subscription plans. It does require an additional subscription of $15 per user per month. A few other releases that have happened, Sugar 7.9.01, 7.8.21, 7.7.22, and 6.5.26, were a series of releases for all of the currently supported versions of Sugar to address some security issues. Sugar Mobile has had 5.1.0 and 5.1.1 come out with some additional features and bug fixes from 5.0. 5.0, I believe, came out in the April or May timeframe. We probably talked about that one in our last user group, and was pretty important because it introduced some really nice UI changes to make the app a little bit easier to use, making the navigation of the record screens quite a bit simpler. Just a few weeks ago, Sugar announced the release of the latest version of the Outlook plugin, version 2.4.0. This included a lot of additional features. There were some updates to the Sugar sidebar, including the ability to create lead records as well as contacts when you have an unmatched email address, the ability to create new records related to records, the record that you're viewing, from certain subpanels, specifically leads, opportunities, cases, and bugs. So if you have an email from someone and it needs to be turned into an opportunity, you can click that in the sidebar as well as at the top of your screen in Outlook. And they also added the email subpanel into the sidebar so that you can see the email that you archived into Sugar as part of that contact history alongside the rest of their information. Other updates include duplicate checking for all records instead of just some records that are created from Outlook, additional time frame options for syncing intervals if you're doing the sync of calendar contacts and or tasks, and the ability to upload an SSL certificate to put in the credentials to connect your Sugar.
Another recent release was the IBM Lotus Notes plugin that included some improved handling of recurring meetings, as well as the option to unsync and delete meeting records and a bunch of other bug fixes. And I think we mentioned it every user group, but Sugar's been releasing mobile, Outlook, and Lotus plugins on a fairly regular basis. It's been really nice. They've been putting a lot of effort into those 3 products as well as the main product, so it's really nice to see new features and bug fixes coming every month or so.
Yeah, we actually still have one more new releases slide. I don't think we've ever had this many new releases in a single user group to look at before.
Right, so Sugar released a new version of their customer journey plugin, which, did we look at that in the last user group?
We have had a user group about that. I don't
We did a
remember when
user
it was,
group.
but we definitely have done a user group about a customer journey plugin.
Right. So if you want to know more about that customer journey plugin, look at one of our historical user groups. But now, customer journey is a really nice way to put a process into Sugar. So if you have a lead come in, you can choose your process. What type of prospect is it? Is it a CRM or Starfish prospect? And then it can lead you. What are the questions you need to ask? You can check the boxes to see when those are getting done. But now you have better options for filtering, adding sub-activities, displaying due dates. Ooh, I like that one. Multiple blocking activities as well as bug fixes, of course. And that kind of fits very well with some of the customer journey creates activities within Sugar. And with activities, of course, you can run advanced workflows. And we've had a user group about advanced workflows, but you can pair advanced workflows with the customer journey plugin pretty well to have those working together. So once you complete one task, maybe something else gets launched or some records created. Sugar has also released a new version of the Marketo 3.1.3. And this is very important because Marketo is changing their API, they believe, in September, so you need to have this version of the plugin or your Marketo integration is going to stop working. And the upgrade instructions are very simple. If you're using version 3.0.9 or later, you can just install the new plugin over the existing plugin. I did that yesterday for a customer and it went very well. If you're using a previous version, you simply have to uninstall the old plugin and install the new plugin, and everything should continue working.
All right, I do believe that's going to take us to the end of our slides for today. While we pull up the questions section and find out if there's any questions that you've asked us, I do want to just announce that we have our next user group in September. At that time, we're going to be talking about data management and various tools and techniques and tips for working with data inside and outside of Sugar. Part of what we will cover in that user group is Hint, that new relationship intelligence service that we talked about in the releases. So if you're interested in learning more about Hint, that would be a good chance to do so.
And just as a reminder, those widgets on the bottom of your screen, one of those is a link to the registration page for that user group. So feel free to click on that. And I would also like to address, one or two of you had mentioned that when Justin was demoing XperiDo, your screens were still buffering and you were not able to see that. So don't worry. One of the cool things about this new webinar system we're using is that it allows me to snip out different small portions of the presentation. So I will snip out that specific part when I email you after this, so you can take a second look at that without having to scroll through the entire video to find it. Okay, looks like we'll give you another couple seconds for questions. It looks like we got all those answered throughout. All right, with that, I would like to thank Justin and Megan for their time today. And again, remind you, September 14th is our data management user group, and we hope to see you all there. Have a great day, everyone. Oh. Wait, we have a question. Never mind. Bye.